I was just 20 years old when Hurricane Katrina hit. I thought I understood it back then, just another big storm that was all over the news. But after watching this new documentary, I realized I had no idea. This was not just a hurricane, it was catastrophic failure that drowned an American city. And the footage, it is chilling. If you think you know Katrina's story, you don't. Not like this. I'm Kelli with Hello Weather. It's Kelli, and I just finished watching the new Hurricane Katrina documentary on Hulu. And honestly, I am still trying to process what I watched. Yes, I knew most of the facts, the Category 3 landfall, the levees that were breached, the massive flooding. But what this documentary showed was the human cost in a way that I have absolutely never seen before. Today, I want to walk you through what stood out to me, what shocked me, and why Katrina's story still matters almost 20 years later. Let's start with the actual storm. Katrina formed in late August of 2005, rapidly strengthening over the warm Gulf waters. By the time it made landfall near New Orleans, it had already left devastation in Florida and was pushing a storm surge so massive it could become one of the deadliest in U.S. history. In the documentary, they showed real-time footage, satellite loops, radar scans, and the news reports warning people to evacuate. But here's the thing, many didn't evacuate. And honestly, many could not evacuate. The evacuation plan, it didn't account for the thousands of people without cars, without money, without anywhere to go. And that decision gap, it was absolutely fatal. But Katrina wasn't just a weather disaster, it was an infrastructure disaster. The levees that were supposed to protect New Orleans failed catastrophically. The documentary takes you inside those hours after landfall, water pouring into neighborhoods, people climbing into attics to escape the flood. Entire families stranded on rooftops waving for help that was not coming. What hit me the hardest? Knowing that many of those deaths happened after the storm had already passed because the city was drowning. This is where the documentary, honestly, it got quite hard to watch. The Superdome, intended as a shelter of last resort, became overcrowded. It became unbearably hot, and it was desperately short on food and water. The convention center, that was even worse. It showed survivors telling their stories, the elderly left behind, parents trying to keep their kids calm as the hours dragged into days, the desperation in their eyes. You could feel the fear and the exhaustion through the screen. Parents with little babies begging for help. And then there was the federal response. It was slow, it was chaotic, and it was so disorganized. Days went by before significant aid arrived, and for many, it was just too late. Katrina exposed massive flaws, not just in hurricane preparedness, but in disaster response. The failure to evacuate those most vulnerable, the lack of coordination between the city, the state, and federal agencies, the underestimation of storm surge power, but it also changed things. Hurricane evacuation planning has improved. Levees were rebuilt and reinforced, and Katrina's legacy became a rallying cry for better emergency management. Still, watching this documentary, you can't help but wonder, if another storm like Katrina struck tomorrow, would we truly be ready? You know, I have been pretty obsessed with severe weather for years, but Katrina, it isn't just a meteorological event, it's a human story. The images from this documentary, families clinging to each other in floodwaters, the haunting silence of abandoned neighborhoods, they're a reminder that behind every weather statistic or event is a life that is forever changed. If you have not seen this documentary yet, I really think it's worth watching. Not because it's easy to watch, I'm telling you it's not, but because remembering it matters. As I said, I was 20 years old when Katrina happened. I thought I understood it back then, but this documentary reminded me that there is always more to the story than just what you see in the headlines. So now I want to hear from you. Do you remember when Katrina hit? What do you remember seeing on the news? Do you remember watching the absolute catastrophe unfold? Drop your thoughts below because these stories matter and I read every single one. And if you think this was powerful, wait until you see what I uncover in my next video. Click over now and let's keep this conversation going.